Hey, good afternoon, Year 5. Just going to start by saying I'm having dreadful problems with the internet and the software, so anything could happen. Okay, bit of suspense for the lesson. Right, it's very cold outside, and we're going to be studying a planet this afternoon. So, a number of things to talk through. I don't know if anyone recognises this picture. It's very, very famous. Just have a think. Who do you think painted this picture? And there goes a snowplow. Who do you think painted the picture? Do you know? Do you recognise it? Here's another picture that I believe we've had a look at before in one of our RE sessions. Can anyone remember the name of the artist? He was also a poet as well, who painted this picture. Okay, well, the first one was painted by Van Gogh, and it's called Starry Night. So you can see in the sky above the town, you've got the moon, and then you've got lots of stars. And I believe one of them, this small one here, represents Venus at the time that he actually painted it. So he was looking out of a window and created this scene. Okay, so I don't know what you think about that picture. You could possibly pause the video and have a discussion if you're in the bubble or at home. Okay, what do you like about it? Okay, the other picture is painted by Blake, who was a poet as well, and this image is called The Great Architect. Sometimes it's known as Creation. So we're looking at a picture of God here, and he's obviously up in the solar system somewhere looking down on Earth. So artists have always looked at the skies for inspiration and as a source for their artwork, basically. Now, Van Gogh's is an impression. Okay, so it's called an impressionist picture. So it's not like a really close study of a planet or the sky at night and trying to replicate or reproduce the planet in exact detail. It's just trying to get a feel for it. And I don't know if you talked about how it made you feel, or there is a lot of movement going on in this piece of artwork. Okay, so we're going to have a look at that in a little bit more depth. So this is a bit of an experiment. We're going to have a look at an optical illusion. Okay, so before we do that, just be warned. Okay, if you're at home, just check with an adult, is it okay for me to watch an optical illusion, because it might make your eyes go a little bit funny. Okay, so just check with an adult first. Right, so what you need to do when the clip starts to play, you're going to see a spinning wheel, and you need to look at the center of that wheel for about 30 seconds, and then look down at Van Gogh's picture and see what happens. So you just need to focus on the wheel for about 30 seconds and then check out the picture. Okay, now the clip runs for about a minute, so if you feel a bit dizzy or something like that, then just look away or close your eyes. Okay, because we want to make sure that you are safe. So let's see if we can get it to play. Here we go. So look at the center of the wheel. Okay, you might want to have a look at the picture, see if anything's happening. Oh my goodness me. Wow. Hopefully that's working for you. I'm going to look at the wheel again. Now I'm going to have a look at the picture. Wow. Now I don't know how that works, but for me that picture certainly came alive. Can everyone just check that Mrs. Coleman's okay? Have a look at her eyes, they're probably spinning around. Okay, fab. Right, bit freaky. I'm going to stop it there and we're going to move on. Okay, so we're going to have a look at another animated version of Van Gogh's Starry Night and just see how this how his paint moves around on the canvas. Now it doesn't actually move, but we say there's a lot of movement in his brush strokes. They're quite free, but there's a definite direction of how he applied his paint, and that's something that we will talk about a little later on in the lesson. Here we go. Just sit back and enjoy this. It reminds me of our kind of calm me jigsaw sessions. Oh. Mrs. Coleman, wake up. Okay, I don't know what you thought about that. I thought it was very kind of dreamlike, and you can really get that kind of movement of the picture and the way it flows. Okay, so I hope you like that. I really like that animation and the music. Watch it again if you need to relax. Right. Now, a little bit of a quiz. I've got two images of Jupiter here, and one of them is a photograph and one of them is a painting. So I'd like you to try and work out which one is which. Now you're going to be studying a planet or planets this afternoon for your own art creation. Okay, so look at the colours, look at the patterns, and what's really special or unique about Jupiter. Okay, all the planets are different. What's special or unique? Okay, now which one do you think is a photograph? Right, so this first one is the photograph, okay, and this one is a painting of Jupiter. All right, so you can see they're very, very close. Somebody has really studied the photograph in order to create their painting. And the painting is definitely more kind of crisp in detail, and the photos are a little bit more blurry. Okay, let's see if we can look at another one. Right, hopefully everyone recognizes that planet. So which is which? Which is the photograph and which is the artwork? Okay, now the first one on the left here, this is actually a chalk piece of artwork. So someone's used chalk or pastels to create this, and again it's very soft. It's a bit more like the photograph of Jupiter. Okay, so this is very soft in its representations. I love the movement they've created here, and of course its famous rings as well. So lots of blending going on with chalk. So this one is a photograph, and this one is quite recent, I think, and it is a striking image of Saturn. This almost looks like it's been created kind of by computers. It's so kind of crisp, and there's a real contrast between the black background and the image itself. Now obviously when we're looking at our planets this afternoon, you've got to be really kind of looking carefully at how you create a sphere or a spherical object. And we looked a little bit at this when we did our cross-hatching, and we had a go at making a sphere and drawing an apple. So it's the same sort of technique. You need to build your rings up, all moving in the same direction. Okay, and that will give you your 3D effect. Right, so really today it's down to you which planet you want to focus on. So you could do one, or you could do a selection. It is really up to you. Here's some examples here. I thought they were really nice as well, and obviously we've got planet Earth as well. So look at the different colors. Okay, how are you going to achieve those effects? So you can choose your medium or materials. So you might want to do watercolors if you're at home. Have a look at what you've got lying around. Chalks you could use, which will give you a softer image, as does the watercolors as well. You might have crayons at home. You can use crayons, and my favorite, really love it, you could use collage, so tearing bits of paper. Now your paper could come from magazines, bits of recycling, anything. Okay, and collage will give you a really good texture as well when you come to look at your planet. So just remember, collage is like ripping your paper, tearing your paper, and then sticking it down and create your colours like that. Lots of fun. Okay. I told you that the technology today is on a go slow. All right, so here's an example of someone who's used collage, and I think that is great, to great effect. Okay, so they've actually done the whole solar system there, including the sun. You can pick out Earth. Okay, clearly you can see Saturn, Jupiter. So that's a really nice example. Okay, here are some examples of someone who has used chalks or pastels. And again, if you look at the background, they have used that kind of splatter technique where you take the tip of your brush carefully and you pull it back and you just splatter the background, a bit like a Jackson Pollock style. So again, if you can create a background today, that's great, but it's not essential. Okay, watercolours really like this. So they have drawn around something. I've got kidney bean cans, baked beans, something like that. So that's about the right size for creating those circles. So you might want to do multiple study, okay? And then if you want to do a bigger one, I took my plate and that just fits on an A4 piece of paper. Okay, so it really is up to you. I wanted to do lots of smaller ones. I could do use a little baking powder pot. So look around your house, see if you can find something that will create a circle for you as your starting point. And finally, here's one of planet Earth with wax crayons, that looks like. So wax crayons are really good for going or for layering. Okay, so going over the top. Possibly wouldn't use felt tips for today's session, okay, but it is up to you. So we're going to watch a little bit of a clip. I've put all of the clips into the links in the resources. We just watch a few minutes of this one and then I'll stop it. And this will show you how to use your watercolors, and we use this technique when we did our poppy study as well. Okay, so it's about moving the paint
Hey guys,
around
welcome back to another episode
the paper.
of Our Journal Thursday, where we get creative every single Thursday here on this channel. In today's episode, I'm going to show you how to paint different planets with watercolors step by step, since you guys requested more watercolor videos, and this video especially
They look
was
fab,
requested.
I have
Let's
to say.
start with Mercury. First things first, let's add some water to the circle because here we're going to use the wet and wet technique. Here I'm using a flat brush, but it's not necessary. Next, load up your wet brush with a little bit of black watercolor and start dabbing it onto the circle, leaving some areas free from any paint. This way the paint will start melting into the water and some areas will be brighter than the rest. If you use too much water and everything just turns gray, just use a tissue paper and remove some of the water and paint just to keep some areas lighter. Now let's add another layer of watercolor. This time I will be using a little bit more black watercolor with less water so the paint is darker, and then dab the paint the same way onto the paper. You want to make some areas even darker while keeping some areas still pretty light. Let the Mercury dry for now and we will get back to it later. Let's move on to Venus. As you can see on the pictures, Venus has lots of warm tones such as brown, yellow, and red, so that's why we will work with these colors. Again, apply some water to the circle and then start dabbing some of the orange colored paint to the circle, but leaving out the center a little bit. Venus has this weird pattern in the middle, and you won't paint that super detailed. We will actually use salt to create a similar pattern. I also added a little bit of this red-orange paint to the top and the bottom part, and made everything melt into each other with a little bit of clear water. And then just keep adding a little bit more paint in brown and orange on top to make everything a little bit darker. Don't stress too much, guys, just have fun with watercolors. It's just so much fun if you just let the paint do its magic and you can still fix everything later. Okay, now comes the trick with salt. Just sprinkle a little bit of salt to areas that you want to add the cool texture to and let the paint dry like that. If you added too much water and the salt doesn't do anything because it's just way too wet, just remove some of the water with a tissue paper. Some of you guys said in my other video that the salt technique didn't work for you. I'm not sure why. I just used normal salt you use for cooking that is really refined and I had never problems, so I'm not sure guys. Just make
Okay, I'm going to stop it there. I thought that's a brilliant technique of using salt. So if you're at home, just ask if you can borrow some salt and have a go at that. If you're at school in the bubble, smile nicely and I'm sure Barbara will give you some salt. Fantastic. So again, the real key words there: don't stress, have fun. If you go over the edges, it does not matter. Okay, so the pencil line is very faint to begin with. And remember, you can move that paint around, and what you're really trying to create is that 3D effect through shadows. So using light and dark to create your shadows. So it's not just creating a whole wash. You've got to really kind of hold back and think, actually, I need to leave this part alone. Okay, right, so good. We're going to move on. We're going to have a look at another film. So remember, all of these clips are in the resource area. Boom. Fantastic. Okay, now, like I said, one of my favorite techniques, looking at the planet Earth here, is collage. So you can just rip up any newspapers or magazines, obviously ask before you do that, and create your own collage, different materials. So we're going to watch just a very quick clip. This is quite a long film, but we'll watch it because there is a cool thing going on. Okay, so let's have a quick look. Fantastic.
Hello there. Today I'm going to show you how to turn this into this. For this project, you will need this beautiful printout of the world, of the map of the world. I got this from thehelpfulgarden.blogspot.com, which I will link to in the description of this video. You will also need some scrap colored construction paper in 8 different colors. And the reason we need these 8 colors is because we are going to do the collage of this world with the same colors corresponding to the Montessori planisphere. So we will need yellow for Asia, white for Antarctica, green for Africa, brown for Australia, pink for South America, red for Europe, blue for the ocean, of course, and some orange for North America. And for this project, we will also need some liquid glue and a paintbrush, as well as a little container to put the glue in, because we're going to apply the glue with a paintbrush to be a little more precise rather than using a glue stick. And we need scissors and a hole puncher, and at the very, very end, you will need a string to make your beautiful planet Earth. Using the scissors, I will first cut out each of these halves of the globe.
Now, it's a bit like watching paint dry, so to speak, watching that whole clip there, but it's in the links. What I think is really good is that's a double-sided image. Now, you don't have to get a printout from the computer. You can draw your planet. Okay, so draw your planet first. Obviously, create that round circle, and then you can start applying your collage material. And for me, personally, I much prefer this style of collage, where it's more kind of ripped, and you've got I can even see a pepper in there forming part of South America. Okay, so obviously from a magazine, I prefer this style. but it is entirely up to you. I like the idea of being able to hang it up on a piece of string, so you might do your drawing on a piece of paper first, cut it out, and then stick it onto a stronger piece of card. Okay, so that's one way of doing that. Obviously, if you're using scissors, guys, just be careful. Cool. Let's see if we can. Oh, the internet. The PowerPoint today is crazy. Right, good. So, just to recap. In our resource area, or on our website, there are some large images of each of the planets. So feel free to have a look at those. Obviously, you can look on the internet if you're at home or even in the bubble. Have a look at your own images of the planets. Okay. So you need to select your medium and material. So how are you going to do this? What are you going to use? Study the image very carefully. Okay, so it's not just a red planet or a brown planet. You've got to try and represent the different tones and shades of that planet. Okay, think about the direction of your strokes. If you're painting, if you're doing watercolor, you can really move that paint around. If you're using a thicker paint, then you've got to think, about the way that your brush is creating those sort of lines. If we just see if I can just click on, so just in the corner here, you can see this sphere is made up of 4 parts. You don't need to worry about the shadow at the bottom, but you can see those rings that sort of go round that sphere, okay, as guidelines. And again, up in the corner there, we've got an example of, I think that is with crayon, pencil crayon. Okay, and also think about your background. If you want to work on white paper and then cut out your planet and stick it on a black piece of card or paper, you can do that. It's entirely up to you. All right, so main thing, don't stress, have fun, be a nice afternoon, and I look forward to seeing some of your examples, especially Mrs. Coleman's. So good luck with that, guys. Have a great afternoon. I'm going to say cheerio. Whew. The internet worked. Just